I'm saying this is right, retired Master Sergeant Elizabeth Helm-Frazier. And she's going to speak to us about the 688. Yes. Yes. Here's her contact. Notes. Dorothy would say something, and then Elizabeth can introduce who she's brought.
Doris, if any people come, we have some seats, I assume they'll move in here.
I did tell them the card room, so hopefully they'll come earlier than I told them.
Okay, I'll stretch the lines, okay? Is that all right, Liz? I'll just stretch the lines, okay?
Sure.
All right, I'll try to help you out, okay? First of all, Liz, I got to know her through our church, and I consider her a friend. She's a very sharp lady, a lot of things, and I like that she likes structure, and you can imagine why. So I'd like to start out with, first of all, this young lady was born in St. Petersburg, Florida, and she was raised in Largo, the Ridgecrest community at Largo, Florida, is where her family and her roots are. And I can't tell you enough about some of the things that she's done since she has been retired. As you know, when you retire, you're busier now than when you were active. And this lady is always busy. It's hard to get her. When I look at her calendar and I see every day, and I've been pushing, we were trying to get her to December, and we pushed it back, and I prayed that she'd be able to do it today. And I saw her calendar in February, and there it was. And it was the only date that she had written in there, and all this other had already been filled out. So I'm so pleased that she was able to come. And we did have a snowstorm or whatever. But let me tell you a little bit about her. She shares some wonderful stories about many of her trips that she takes as a result of what she does in terms of the 866 group. I think it's just amazing the travels that she does and all the people that she meets. But we also see a side of her too. She walks for cancer. I can't tell you the number of miles that this lady has walked in different states and has supported raising funds for cancer. I think her family has experienced that horrible disease, and she uses her energy to do that. And I keep on saying, she's military. That's why she can do all that. I couldn't do that. I have to have somebody push me in a chair, I think. The things that this lady has done, she volunteers at our church. I always go to her sometimes to communicate with her because she's had some experiences that I had not had. And she'd say, we don't want to do that, or we don't want to touch it. She's a good source of having a good sense of what's right and wrong. There's no in between, there's no gray area. Okay? I think that's part of the military, that maybe, right, Liz? My first experience with her in terms of doing a presentation, she did it with children in our church. And I'm telling you, it was spellbound. And the kids were like this. I mean, she can just do it. I mean, she can go from there to here. So my own personal experience, I'm hoping that you will all go away with a lot of information and see that she has worth the time to stand to listen to her and share some of her memorabilia here. This lady has been very instrumental. I mean, she is a doorknocker, and she is one of these people who she adopts something she's going for. She was able to get a bill introduced so that the ladies were recognized with the Congressional Medal of Honor, which just happened just recently. And I know that when I first introduced the idea of having her come, some of you bell started going off in your head because you had read some newspaper. You kind of said, yeah, I think maybe that would be a good idea. So at any rate, she's very instrumental of that. And she can get, through all kinds of things and contact people. She's very good for that. She also was at Fort Leavenworth presentation of a monument that was established in these ladies' honor out in Kansas. And so, again, she's all over the United States. You'll see her in the newspaper. And she just shared with Gwen and I, there's a book here. And she just turned to a page and she said, you recognize anybody on that page? It's her. Interesting how she's so busy. And I just think that there's so much that she can share with you. And I'm hoping that afterwards that you can ask all those questions that she might like to share with you, because she really can make it so exciting, and knowing that it's a little late for us to recognize this group of women, because we don't ever hear that much what women did in World War II. I mean, and worse yet, when you think of segregation, we hear a lot about the Black airline pilots that came from Tuskegee, but we certainly didn't hear anything about the women. And she is in their kitchen to get it across. So at this time, I'm going to leave the floor to my friend Liz. I hope you enjoy her visit with us. And please feel free. And she's going to introduce her two sidekicks that are helping us today. Okay, Liz, you're on, girl.
Mail call. Corporal E. Ford, Bobby Jones Tree Johnson III. Mail call. Here I am. Mail call.
Sergeant, thank you.
Mail call. PFC Buddy Joe Lewis Jones. Mail call. PFC Buddy Joe Lewis Jones. Mail call. Yes, Sergeant. Mail call. Mail call. To Lieutenant Charlie Bobby Smith. Mail call. Sergeant. Mail call. Mail call. Miss Kathy Browning Douglas. Mail call.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Mail call. Private Robert Skippy Smith. Mail call. Mail call. Mail call. Sergeant David Little Brown. Sergeant. Mail call. Okay, that's it for mail call. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Elizabeth Ann Helm-Frazier, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army retired, 6 AAA supporter, Berwick Presbyterian member. Thank you, Doc, for inviting me. We've been trying to plan this, I think, for a year. Yeah, my calendar is like, you gotta tell me so I can pencil it in. But first, I want to introduce, like Doc said, two of my road dogs partners. First, Cynthia Williams. Her dad was an Army veteran. Cynthia lives here in Laurel. She's been a really great friend, and she's on the AAA team. The person that's doing the recording is the IT person. Her name is Stephanie Mitchell. She is U.S. Army retired staff sergeant. Okay, and she's on the 6 AAA team. Stephanie and I are actually in the same Army Women's Northern Virginia Chapter 33 group. So again, thank you for those of you that didn't get mail. How that made you feel? Yeah, I will tell you that I did this to a group of kids at my church okay, and did similar the same thing. And the ones that didn't get mail, they was pretty pissed off. Okay? So imagine World War II. There was no Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or none of that. The only way that you knew what was going on back home was by what? Mail. Letters. And of course, you know, your mama, and you know, I'm not being prejudiced, but your mama was the one that sent all of them packages with cookies, cakes, brownies, whatever. Okay. Imagine not getting in your bag for over 2 years. What was going on? World War II. And service members, being a soldier, I will tell you the 3 most important things to any service member: getting paid, food and shelter. You can have a bad day, and mail for that moment would make you forget about your bad day. Imagine today not being out your telephone, your cell phone. Try taking it away from your kids. It just pass right on out. Okay? They would rather you just go ahead and just hit me or something, but don't take my phone away. Okay? Same concept. Imagine not getting any mail. You don't know what's going on back home. That's a morale. I can tell you, because I'm one of those soldiers that really can testify to that. 1 year, I was stationed in Germany. My birthday is September 14th. I didn't get my stuff, my birthday cards, my birthday cake that my mother had baked me until like September 17th. I was mad. Okay, I'm in Kaiserslautern, Germany. I called my mother and said, "Where's my card and my cake? I don't have it." "Oh, well, I just mailed it like yesterday." Yesterday? Oh, I was mad. And I presented to tell her how I felt about that. Good thing I was on the phone. You know, I'm 3,000 miles away overseas. I knew she couldn't do that to me. Okay. But I made it known that it was important that I got my birthday stuff on my birthday or before my birthday. Lo and behold, that didn't happen again. Okay. The 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion was a predominantly all-Black female unit that served overseas from February 1945 to March of 1946. It's predominantly Black, but there was one lady that was Mexican American, there was one lady that was Puerto Rican, and there was one lady that mother was Australian and her dad was a Black soldier. In World War II, Black women recruitment was limited to only 10%, so-called matching the population of US African Americans at the time. The Army still was doing the segregation policy. President Truman had not signed it yet. Total African American women serving during World War II was over 6,000. Now, let me be clear. The 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion was not the only women serving overseas. They were the only women in a battalion-sized unit serving overseas. That is the distinct difference. A battalion is anything over 500, is a battalion-sized company. In 1942, it was the Women Army Auxiliary Corps, the WAAC. Okay. It became the Women's Army Corps. There's a difference. The WAAC did not have official military status. In other words, they could like say they was in the army, okay? They just didn't get paid to be in the army, and they did not get veteran status. Okay. The Army Women's Corps replaced the WAAC. It was signed by President Roosevelt on July 1st, 1943. It gave women who served in the military status. They were veterans, they were getting paid, okay? And they could go overseas. The WAAC did not allow women to go overseas. Now, these women who was serving, they had two pretty powerful advocates. One of them, this is a test. Oh, did I tell you I was gonna be a test? Yeah, it's gonna be a test. One of them was First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. The second lady was Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. She was one of the most powerful Black women in the country at the time. They were advocating not only for officers, but enlisted women to be recruited into the army. Okay. Now, there were units of white women already over in the European Command. So if you hear me say ETO, European Theater of Operation, in the military, we got a whole lot of acronyms. So every now and then I might slip up and say an acronym and I'm see what that means. Okay, so that's what that means. In November of 1944, the War Department finally consented to allow the recruitment of 824 enlisted women and 31 officers. And they were taken from, at the time, all of the services. Okay? This particular thing is going to create the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion, nicknamed 6888, motto, no mail, no morale. Now, why was that? Why do you need a specific unit to just do mail? Because like I said, remember, third most important thing, mail. That's going to be a question. And troops, and I can tell you, because I've been a troop, Stephanie been a troop, okay? Cynthia is a family member. They can tell you, a service member don't get no mail, oh, they'll stop complaining. So in the 1940s, service members were complaining to the adjutant general. We're not getting mail, I can't do my job, I need to hear from home. You know, my mama sent me a box 5 years ago, I ain't got it. I need to hear from home. Leaders were listening to this. There were other units doing the mail, but just could not keep up with the load, because what was happening? World War II, service members and civilians were moving all of the time. Nobody stayed in one place. So people were moving all of the time. And in the military, every time you move, you had to fill out a locator card. It's the same thing, you know, when you go to the post office and you move and you got to fill out that card, okay? With this post office, you hope that they get it, okay? But in World War II, they were called locator cards, 5x7 card, and you had to fill it out. You had your name, your rank, and at the time, they had serial numbers. You had your previous unit and the unit you was going to. And you signed it and turned it into the clip, okay? Now, some people had like 8, 9, 10 cards because you were moving. Every time you move, you had to fill out a card, okay? But the morale was so low that the adjutant general had to say, okay, we need to do something about this. Because, you know, you got Billy Bob worried about the wife who got like 3 kids that because he got drafted, had to go in the army, left her at home with 3 kids, okay? He needs to know, okay? or Bucky over here hadn't heard from his mama, and she missed his birthday, and she never misses his birthday. So, that was a real morale killer. 688 was established. The leader was a lady by the name of Captain Charity Adams. Now, I could do a separate talk just on her. Outstanding. When I say strategic, she was a strategic planner. She was. She had already been in the service. She was out at Fort Dimone, Iowa. She had already commanded troops. As a matter of fact, she had the most time for commanding troops, women, than any other person had at the time. Charity Adams is right here. This photo right, that's her. She was a young captain, and she and her executive officer, Captain Abby Noel Campbell, got selected for this assignment. They didn't know where they were going. Finally, they got to England, and she tore open her letter, and it had her orders in it. And it told her she was going to be the commander for this male unit. Their first duty assignment was going to be Birmingham, England. If you're looking at a map, you look at London and go northwest. Birmingham is about an hour and a half from London. Okay. That's where all the mail was going when it left the United States. Okay. Oh, by the way, APO, that's not a state. APO was Army Post Office. Okay. When it left New York Harbor or left San Francisco, it went to either England or out to, I think it was China or someplace. I don't know what it was. Anyway, the mission that the Army had come up with, Army leadership, white male general officers, said, okay, we need a unit to just do the mail. Just do mail. It was the only thing that they were going to do. When it was decided that it's going to be an all-female unit and then a Black unit at that, or predominantly Black, the Army gave them 6 months. Not because they thought they needed 6 months. They thought they were going to fail. Think about this. We're in World War II. Who's the leadership? White, male. And what was going on in our country? Yeah. First duty assignment, Birmingham, England. All the mail was going there. It had been going there for over 2 years. Okay. Like I said, there were other mail units, but they just could not keep up with it. Packages, and I have a couple of pictures here that shows you what it looked like. Okay. From the floor to the ceiling. That's how mail was, because it was just coming over. And at the time, Birmingham, England, was an Army airspace. So the plane was coming, they just dumped mail off and putting it in aircraft hangars. And there are a couple of pictures here. Okay. And it was just sitting. Okay. Now, it had mail, packages had what? Food and other stuff that your mama sent. Because most of the time it was your mama that sent that stuff. Okay. The aircraft hangar was full of undelivered packages, Christmas packages, birthday packages, all kind of stuff. Now, in World War II, what was the literacy level of most people? Non-high school graduates. So, they called you what they called you at home. Robert Buster Smith. Okay. Joe Louis Brown. Okay. Junior. How many of you? Okay. I knew we had a couple of juniors. Okay. And how many Smith, Jones, Johnsons, how many of those are in the world? Hold on. By the way, for the people that got the mail, you can open up your mail too, okay? Okay, so the mail was hurting, not getting mail was hurting morale. The mission was to clear the several years of backlog. That's the mission for the 6 AAA. What did they have to do? They had to work in very cold conditions because, you know, the war doesn't stop when it's cold, okay? There was no air conditioning, no heating, okay? And they were working in buildings that you see like this one down here, okay? And because it was a war, the windows had to be blacked out. These here would all be blackout windows because the war was still going on, and they didn't want anybody to see that they were working. This one is in France because they were in France too, and I'm going to move to France in a few minutes. Okay. So when the 800 and something women were nominated, got their orders, they were shipped in two different ships. The first one was the Ile de France. It left out of New York Harbor. That is the ship that Miss Rudolph was on, along with several other women that are located here. Left out of there. That ship crossed the Atlantic, was going to land in Birmingham, and because of German U-boats and threat of being shot at, they had to divert it to Glasgow, Scotland. Glasgow, Scotland, the ship landed. Captain Adams and her executive officer, Captain Campbell, met the group there. Then they got on a train and took a train down to Birmingham. She had already come up with a plan of, okay, I've got to reduce this mail because she already knew what she was up against. She came up with a plan. They're going to work 7 days a week, 3 shifts, so that you work around the clock. Okay, there were 3 different shifts. The companies of the 6 AAA was Headquarters Company, Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta were what we call the mail companies. Headquarters Company was just what it was, the headquarters company. They did everything else. Okay. And these ladies started working to reduce the backlog. Now this mail, remember, it had sat for over 2 years. It was not readable. You'll see in some of the packages here that they were unwrapped because they had sat. And then of course, if you have food, what happens when you got food? Oh yeah, let me tell you, Miss Rudolph, she told this story. When she saw that mouse, she said, I'm done. It is estimated that while in Birmingham, each ship worked and reduced the backlog by sorting at least about 65,000 pieces of mail per ship. Per ship. That's a lot of mail. I know the mail company here, they do that. And how many months they had? 6. Guess what they did? They finished in 3. I often tell people I would have loved to have been in the room with all of the white men when they figured out, you mean they don't finish this in 3 months? Well, I don't believe that. What did they do? Exactly. Leadership said, we're gonna see. Because remember, these were predominantly Black women. They're the last on the totem pole. The army, the military was already kind of coming to grips with what group? Tuskegee Airmen, because it proved that, oh, Black man can actually fly an airplane. Yeah. How about that? Humphreys Point's Marines. Okay. Oh, you mean black men can be Marines? Yeah. The 404th all black female band. Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Black women can play instrument. Yeah. Black people can read and write too. Okay. Because most of the women in the 688 already had high school diploma, and a lot of them already had college educations. Okay. So what did leadership do? Oh, we got to make sure that they actually did this. So they moved them from Birmingham, England, to Lyon, France. You look at a map and you see Paris go west, northwest, west, and then kind of like in an angle. That's Lyon, France. Lyon is right smack in the middle of Paris to the east and Normandy to the west. That's where they were stationed at. And again, leadership gave them 6 months. Okay. They had a little more help this time because again, war starting to come to the end. Okay. So they had the assistance of German POWs, but all they were doing was helping lift these heavy bags because again, mail was being piled up. Okay. People still not getting the mail. Okay. They moved to Paris, France, Lyon, France, to do the exact same thing. Charity Adams, who was now Major Adams, came up with the same plan. 3 shifts, 7 days a week. And again, working 3 shifts, 7 days a week, estimated about 65 million pieces of mail that they cleared out. And guess what they did? 3 months. Reduce the backlog in 3 months. It is estimated that this unit cleared about 7 billion pieces of mail in the European theater of operation. The 688 was an Army unit, so it still had Army stuff to do. Okay? They still had to do parades. They still had to do Army. We called it KP, kitchen duty. Okay, still had to do that. That wasn't Miss Rudolph Sponda's thing. Okay, but they were a unit that people was always coming to see. Okay, because they was coming to see them because they heard it was some black women and remember where they were. Okay, overseas. And a lot of white people had never seen black people, let alone black women. In fact, in Charity's book, this book, if you don't have it, go ahead and get it. It is an outstanding read. I've read it 3 times. So you can see I got all my papers stuck in there. Because where I got a paper at, that's one of my favorite parts. Okay. In this book, Charity asks, why were people wanting the wax to stay out past 11 o'clock at night? You couldn't figure that out until one person told them. Because they were told that after 11 o'clock, that the black wax grew tail. That's what I said. Well, remember now, World War II, remember? Tails, they grew tails. Yeah. And that's what they wanted to see. Okay? Remember, don't tell me I said, what? Remember, this is World War II, 1940. You know? I think people believed in King Kong at the time. All right? But that's what they did. But there was also tragedy. At Normandy American Military Cemetery, I don't know if anybody's ever been there. It sits atop of the beaches. Okay. The top of that cliff, I guess that's what you can call it, is Normandy American Cemetery. A lot of the service members that lost their lives that June 6th is buried right there. There are over 9,000 men buried there. Of that number, 4 are women. 1 was a Red Cross volunteer who was killed in a plane accident. 3, 688. Now I'll tell you, I was in Normandy in 2000. I was on this tour. I was stationed in Europe. Went on this tour, and we did all of the beaches. We get up to the cemetery. You know, I'm standing there because I'm just amazed at all the people buried. And the caretaker comes up to me. He says, "You know, there are 3 Black women buried here." Now I didn't know if he was just telling me that or was telling me that because I was the only Black person in the group. Okay. He said, "Yeah, and they're from this Mayo youth." And he took me to each one of their grave sites. Now, in 2000, the only thing that I knew about the 688 was, where's my photo? I had a photo of Charity Adams inspecting the troops. It is this photo here. This is the photo I always saw when I was in the military. And I would always say, well, where's this unit? Because this is the unit I want to be in. Because all these women look like me. And I must have said that for like 5, 6 years. People let me walk around and say, I'm going to be in this unit here. Wasn't until like 1994, 95, when I said it, this guy said, you know, I think that's a World War II unit. I'm pretty sure that that's a World War II unit. I was like, really? Really? And he said, yeah, the clothes. You get the uniforms. Like, oh, well, okay. Oh, so does the unit exist now? He's like, no, that's World War II. Okay. In this photo is Indiana Hunt. Remember that. In this photo is Indiana Hunt Martin. And I'm gonna tell you about her in a few minutes. Okay. So I'm like, wow. Okay. When I went to each of the graves, like I said, the guy took me to each of the graves, and I saw each of the women. One was, make sure I get their names correct. One was Dolores Brown. She was from New York. She survived the initial accident and succumbed to her injuries about 5 days later. The other 2, Mary J. Barlow and Mary Bankston, died instantly. Now, the Army, I guess, you know, maybe it was time, I don't know, would not send their bodies back to the United States for whatever reason, we don't know. So it was the members of the 688 that took up a collection to have these women funeralized and buried. In the unit of the 688, there had been women that had had mortuary science experience. They had been funeral home attendants before they came into service. It was Captain Abby Noel Campbell who had to identify the bodies and be the model for the caskets. And this unit took up money to have these women buried in a military honor. They are buried amongst veterans, heroes, which they are there at Normandy. If you ever get to Normandy, ask the caretaker to show you the graves of not only the 688, but the only other woman that is buried there. When the 688 finished their mission there in Rion, They moved one more place, and that was to Paris. Same thing, same mission. When they finished up their mission, it was February 1946. A lot of them were starting to break down, get ready to come back to the States. When they did come back, a lot of them came to what was Fort Dix, New Jersey. It is outside of Philadelphia. It is also where I had basic training. There was no parade, no unit award. Okay, y'all go home, do whatever you want to do. Okay. Miss Rudock tells the story that they handed her a ticket. She took the train into Philadelphia, got on the train, came back home to Washington, D.C. Like many other veterans, did not talk about their service. Like 688, like Miss Rudock would always say, we did our job, served our country, now we can just go home, do something else. Many of them, they had three choices. They could stay in the Army, they could transfer to one of the other branches, or they could transfer out. A lot of them stayed on active duty. Some of them, like Mrs. McClendon, who's one of the living members, she's here. She transferred to the U.S. Air Force because she had gotten married and her husband was in the Air Force. Of the living 6 members, she's the only one that is actually retired military. She is a retired major that served in the U.S. Air Force. They got home, a lot of them used their GI dues. They went back to school, got degrees, got married, had kids, got second careers, went on with their lives. Not talking about this. Until a man named Mr. Carlton Philpott. Now, Mr. Philpott, that's another story all by itself. If you ever see a flyer and somebody's asking for some money, donating for some monuments, and it's got Carlton Philpott name down there, and you send a check with a letter saying, how can I help? Expect him to write you back or call you, because he's gonna do it. Okay, so that's how he got me. January of 2018, somebody handed me a flyer. Hey Liz, this is what you do. And it was a flyer that says, hey, collecting money to build the 6 AAA a monument. Well, first of all, I already thought they had a monument. Okay. And the monument is going to be located out in the Park of First African Americans, Buffalo Soldier Park, which is out at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. 9th and 10th Cavalry Association, point of contact, Carlton G. Philpott, U.S. Navy. So yeah, I sent my check, got my letter. Hey, Mr. Philpott, I'm such and such and such, such. How can I help? That's what I said. He calls me. That's Sergeant Helm-Frazier. This is Carlton Philpott. What I need you to do is you and this other lady that live in Laurel, Maryland, her name is Edna Cummings. You all can be the East Coast 6 AAA monument team. I need you all to raise money. Now, this is January of 2018. So Edna and I, who didn't know each other at the time, we met. I live in Laurel on Main Street, and right across the street is Red Hot and Blue. That's where we met. Y'all know Red Hot and Blue, right? Okay, yeah. Well, that's where me and Edna met. And it was like, okay, Edna is retired Army. Edna is probably just as busy. Matter of fact, she's doing something today. Okay. And we was gonna raise money, get the word out about 6 AAA, and then we was gonna go back to doing whatever it is that we were doing. I often say that it's your plan, but God directs the step. And that's what he did. We said our little prayer, and then we started out. I will tell you that Stephanie, Cynthia, Dale, probably about 4 or 5 of them, they just got dragged on just in association with me. And we started raising money. we had to raise 60,000. I think we were right at about 25,000 when I met Mr. Philpott. So Edna and I started. We went on radio shows, went to PXs, every kind of event that we could go to raise money. By June, we had met that financial goal. In the meantime, Mr. Philpott, who lives out in Kansas, along with our researcher, Dominic Johnson, was searching for living members. At one time, there was 11 known members. Three of them lived right here in this area. Mrs. Campbell, Miss Rudolph, and I think Miss Hunt Martin had moved out. I get this call because now we're in the works. We're getting ready. They're gonna get this monument built. Let me tell you, when you see a monument, that is the finished product. There is so much work behind getting that monument. Let me tell you. Okay, you wouldn't even believe what you got to do to get a monument here. Okay. I mean, it's just crazy. And Mr. Philpott's telling me, it's like, really, you got to ask people that you're going to donate the monument to tell them that, hey, I want to donate this monument to you. Is that okay? You have to literally ask that question. Okay. This monument was for the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion. There's a photo of it here, right here. The front of it, and the back of the monument has a list of all of the names of the women by state in alphabetical order. Okay. What is so unique about this part? First, it's a first. The park first, African Americans. The first statue was the Buffalo Soldier Monument. A lot of people will know that one because the late Colin Powell threw his support behind that. They have Flipper, Henry Flipper, Wilson. He was the first African-American to graduate from West Point. You have General Peterson. You have General Grissom. You have the 555, the 555 all-black parachute unit. You have the late Colin Powell. And you have the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion. As we say, the men are in good company now because the women have arrived. On that cold November day in 2018, there were 5 living members that attended that ceremony, and it was truly a great honor. My job that Ms. Philpott had me doing, and oh, by the way, Ms. Philpott will put you to work. Okay, August of 2018, he says, Liz, because now I'm Liz. Liz, I need you to go over to Mount Rainier, Maryland, and tell PFC Rudolph that she will come to the dedication. I was like, okay, Mr. Philpott, didn't you say she was like 94 and you want me to go over there and tell her she's gonna go? He's like, yeah, you're a master sergeant, she a PFC. I'm like, she's 94. She's 94. We'll just go over there. She knows you're coming. So, I called her, and I live in Laurel. She lived at the time in Mount Rainier. So, I get over there, get parked, and I'm coming down the sidewalk, and she's standing like where Stephanie's standing, and I'm walking, trying to find this place. I heard this voice. Hey, are you Elizabeth? Yeah, I saw this person standing there. Hey, are you Elizabeth? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm Dolores. Okay, she don't look like she's 94. I was like, oh, you PFC Rudolph? Yeah. I was waiting on your call to call me. Come on up to my place. She lived on the top floor. There's 17 steps. That's right, I counted. So I'm following up like, you live upstairs? She's like, yeah, she's in one of the older buildings, so it don't have an elevator. Okay. She's like, oh yeah, I come up and down 3 or 4 times a day. So I was like, oh, look and puff. We get in there, and I was like, okay, well, Miss Rudolph, she was like, call call me Dolores. I was like, okay, Miss Rudolph, Mr. Philpott wants you to come. She was like, I'm not going. I'm like, okay, this is a monument dedicated to your unit. She was just like, we just did our job. We don't need no monument. This is real special, okay? She was like, are you going? I was like, yes, ma'am. She said, okay, I'll tell you. She says, I hadn't been on a plane in 30 years. This was 2018. Been on a plane 30 years. I'll go if you go the same time I go and you're in the same room that I'm in. Oh, Mr. Philpott, hey, Mr. Philpott, she takes the phone from me. She's like, Carlton, Dolores, I'm only gonna go if Elizabeth goes at the same time and in the same room I am. Mr. Philpott's like, oh yeah, whatever you want. So that started the relationship of me and Ms. Rudolph. Ms. Rudolph is also in the same Army Women's chapter that Stephanie and I are both in. She was one of the longtime members, Northern Virginia, chapter 33, Women's Army Corps. Her birthday was September 16th. My birthday is September 14th. Her name is Dolores, spelled Deloris, and my mother's name was Dolores, spelled Delores. Miss Rudolph would say, well, everybody else spells theirs wrong. That was a relationship that I miss dearly. Miss Rudolph died on March 27th of 2021. It was truly my honor to be there, holding her hand, telling her it was all right. One of the last things that she said to me, she asked me a question. She says, do you think that our unit is going to get the Congressional Gold Medal? And I said, Miss Rudolph, if I've got to write every senator, every House of Representative, and have everybody that I know right, I'm going to ensure that your unit gets the 688. And she said, I know that you will. And that was the last time that she talked. She went very peacefully. When we buried her, April 20th of 2021, her burial, now we at the height of COVID, you know, she is actually at Baltimore National Cemetery, another sacred place. Her burial was attended by more than the 20 people that were supposed to be there, but not, you know, because of COVID. Her burial was attended not only by Stephanie and Cynthia, Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Dennis McDonald, who had only been on the job 6 weeks, and Senator Moran out of Kansas, who was the person to why the 688 has the Congressional Gold Medal. It was his idea that he planted in everybody else's hand, saying, yeah, I think this unit should have a Congressional Gold. That day, he told us that the Senate had passed their bill, so all we had to do was work in the House. And on February 28th of 2022, the House of Representatives passed their portion of the 688 Congressional Gold Medal Act. And on March 14th of 2022, President Joe Biden signed it into law. The 688 is the only military women, all women unit to have the U.S. Congressional Gold Medal. The WASP has a gold medal, but the WASP was in the WAAC. They did not have military status. That is the difference. The U.S. Congressional Gold Medal, at the time I said was the highlight of it. Now, Edna and I keep saying, okay, we're gonna do this and then we're gonna go home and get back to our own business, okay? But the 688 is our business. I tell people I have 2 full-time jobs. I work at the Department of Veteran Affairs that pays me money. And then I work for the 688. It pays me so much more. Okay. And then behind that is Berwick Presbyterian Church. You know, they work with you. Okay. But it has been my honor. Next month, on April 27th of 2023, Fort Lee, Virginia, which is south of Richmond, okay, will be redesignated, is the name that they're using, redesignated to Fort Gregg Adams. The Adams is Charity. Lieutenant General Gregg is 96, lives down in Manassas, still drives, okay? And he's real excited because he was a quartermaster officer. He's really excited about an installation being made after him and sharing it with Charity Adams. How about that? Charity Adams' son, Stanley, lives down here in PG County. I talked to him yesterday. He's kind of overwhelmed. Okay. Her daughter Judy lives up in Dayton, Ohio, which is where Charity Adams actually lived. She was married to Dr. Stanley Early Sr. Just, you could do a whole story just on those two. Okay. Charity Adams died January of 2002. She's buried there in Dayton. Okay. And of course, now everybody wants to know about the 688. We have accomplished our mission because one of the things that we started out by saying, we just wanted to raise money for the monument and get the word out about the 688. There are 6 living members. You have Miss Romay Johnson. She's actually the oldest. And if you get the Smithsonian magazine this month, she is on the cover on that 2-page. And I'm gonna tell you about that Smithsonian article. They got like 12 pages about 688. That never happens. They do like 2 or 3 pages of a story and then that's it. 688 got 12 pages. Okay. Miss Romay, I saw her in September. Okay. She's kind of mad because they sold a car to keep her from driving. Her birthday's in October. She's 103. She has a black belt that she earned at the age of 79. If you're from the South and you know the grocery store Winn-Dixie, okay, well, she worked at the Winn-Dixie in Montgomery to like 90 something. As a matter of fact, that's where they have her birthday party at in October, okay? Miss Fanny Griffith McClendon, she is the only one that is retired Air Force. She's a major. She's 102. Her birthday is September 22nd. Okay. She's kind of upset right now because she had an accident in October because the sun was shining in her face. She hit someone. Nobody was injured, but it totaled her car. And she's upset with the insurance company because the insurance company is not fixing her car. They told her. Okay, she's upset about that. Okay. So, you know, when I talk to her, she's like, you know, look, they're not fixing my car. I was like, yes, ma'am. All I can do is say yes, ma'am. PFC Garcia. Mrs. Garcia is 102. She is the one that is of Puerto Rican descent. She lives in Brooklyn, New York. She was featured on CBS this morning, last year, on their segment that they do in the morning. She was featured there. She talks about the 688. While she was talking, she got a phone call right there on live TV. And the lady says, well, PFC Garcia, how are you? And she goes, you Dr. Biden. First Lady Jill Biden called. Okay. Private Gladys Blunt. She's 101. She was in New Jersey. She now lives in Ruston, Florida with her daughter. Last summer, after her birthday, they named the street that she lived on Gladys Eva Dubai Blunt Way. Okay. So she has a street named after her. She's pretty excited about that. Like I said, she's 100. The other two living members, this is Corporal King. Okay. This is her in her military picture. This is her on January 27th of 2023, and she is 100 that day. She's the diva of the group. Mrs. King, what can I say about Mrs. King? You know, she just is. Okay, she was on the Today Show last year for her 99th birthday. Her favorite newscaster is Al Roker. He did a series in their Life Well Left Lived. I was actually there. She did a 55-minute interview, and I wish so much that they could have shown that whole interview because she made it. She, along with Miss Catherine and Miss McClendon, are probably one of the better interviewers. Mrs. King can talk in detail about her time in the 6 AAA. Okay. Stephanie and her daughter was there at her 100th birthday party. She loves parties. She's kind of disappointed because it wasn't a big hoo-ha, but she was in the rehab center at the time, so we kind of had to scale it down. Okay. But she still showed up, you know, didn't want to use a cane, didn't want to use a walker. But no, I'm walking in now. Hey man, whatever you want. Okay. I will be out there in April. I go out every couple of months. You know, she thinks I can just get on the plane and come on out here. So I will be out there next month. Miss Anna Mae Wilson Roberts. She is the youngest of the group. This is her March 5th of 2023, and she is 99 that day. She lives up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Please keep her in your prayers. She lost her only son March 12th, and their family is having his service today. It has been my honor to be here today. I thank Dot again for asking me. What I want to do is I am going to present to this chapter, the national president. Where is she at? Come on. Who's the national? Come on. Because I appreciate Dot asking me to come share this story. I'm going to challenge all of you to share the story. Ms. Rudock, when she was asked the question, how do you pass it on? She says, you have to tell the story. And so I'm going to ask this president, your chapter, to keep telling the story about the 6 AAA Central Postal Directory Battalion. And on behalf of the 6 AAA living veterans, all of the family members and supporters, we present this to you and say thank you for telling their story. We appreciate your support and ask you to keep passing it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very inspirational note. No, thank you.
And for my church mate, my encourager, but you know, sometimes Berwin can be very difficult. Dot has, Dot and I met when she first came to the church, instant connection, and always encouraged me. You know, I had a lot of people writing letters, calling, faxing, Facebooking, all of the senators and representatives to get this bill passed. You know, I was always sending letters. That's why I don't know why the post office went up on stamps. But not only with the 6 AAA, but like she said, I do walk for cancer. I'm the founder of the cancer, the Walk to Cure Cancer Tour. There were 5 of us. I'm the oldest. We lost my brother that's right behind me, April 26th of 2018, which was 16 months after my mother died. We lost my brother Johnny, who was a Army veteran. We lost him from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, so that is one of my causes. And the church all knows. In fact, they all ask me, "When's the next one?" And so I appreciate the support that they give me in that, because I believe in my heart that cancer will be cured. We just have to get the funds to research so that research can find that cure. So from all of the 6 AAA members, the family members, donors, supporters, to Dot, she doesn't have this photo. This photo is of the 5 members that attended the ceremony on November of 2018. It is the 5 living members. Each of their signatures is real. That is their signature, along with the photo of them surrounding that monument. I'm going to give this to Dot. Thank you so much. One question. So I'm taking my hat off. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good afternoon or good morning, ladies. My name is Jackie Nichols. I'm a resident here, and I certainly thank Joyce for inviting me to this gathering. I'm a retired military Army nurse who are retired, and I have to say that I did know of the 6 AAA, and I did some research in the past, and I'm also a member of the National Association of Black Military Women, NABMW, you know, and I'm from New York, Brooklyn, New York, and I told the story about the 6 AAA at the Harlem chapter. Certainly not as extensive as Elizabeth did, but I do know of them. And as a matter of fact, I did a brief presentation here about the 6 AAA, and the organization that I belong to, which is the National Association of Black Military Women, takes pride in continuing the legacy of the 6 AAA. Our motto is tell her story, to tell her story. And most of us are registered with the National Military Museum in Harlem, in Arlington, that is, and where we are documenting our actual story that we have actually done in the military. So I thank you for this invitation. And
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you know Pat Jackson Kelly.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, she's telling me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
And Pat's not going to make it next month. But General retired Claire Adams Ender,
Yes.
she will be there. In fact, we will be there together on that Wednesday. Okay.
Yes.
The 6 AAA has a scholarship that we are proud of, because the 6 AAA, a lot of them, when they got out, they used their GI Bill to go back to school. Ms. Rudolph was a proponent of education. She used her GI Bill to go back to school to Talladega Fashion Institute, which is now New York Fashion Institute. Okay. Got a degree in fashion, actually won a couple of awards. But then when she graduated, of course, she couldn't find a job, so she had to go in the bank. Okay. But a lot of them used their GI Bill to go back to school. Last May of 2022, General Claire Adams Ender retired, who's Army nurse. And Edna Cummings and I established the 6 AAA Legacy Scholarship with the Army Women's Foundation, because they already have scholarships, they manage scholarships, so that's why we went under that umbrella. And I and Edna Cummings are actually board members on that board. We established that scholarship. That was May of 2022. January of 2023, the scholarship had reached $10,000. We will award the first scholarship next week, March 22nd, at the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame and Special Recognition Ceremony, where Mr. Philpott, who's a Navy person, will get honored by Army Women's for his contributions, and contribution is a light word for what he has done for the 6 AAA. And that was the idea of Lena Bell King, and all I did was wrote it up for him, okay? And he was selected. The 6888 was selected to their Army Women's Hall of Fame in the class of 2016. Stephanie was inducted last year in the class of 2022, and I was inducted in the class of 2020 because of our work and what we did with the 6888. Okay, so I'm going to give you this right here. Thank you, please, sir.
Oh, thank you. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I can tell you live what you say.
Thank you.
I'm Barbara Baskerville, a resident here. I'm a retired colonel in the Army Nurse Corps. And we are delighted that you are here. Claire Adams Ginder is my fellow alum from North Carolina A&T. And so I know her quite well.
Yeah. Just say Sergeant Liz. That's how she.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank Joyce for inviting me.
All right, make sure you tell General Claire that I can't do the dip, okay? She's another one that called me a sergeant.
I know.
Melissa, would you please stand? Melissa is the president of our African American History Club here at Riderwood. And she is the one who got Jackie for one of our programs about the 6888.
Thank you very much.
One of the other things I don't think she touched on, this is the brochure that advertised the documentary that Liz and I call it the gang people who put together a documentary that actually was shown at the Greenbelt, the old Greenbelt Historical Theater. And a lot of our church members and friends went to this wonderful presentation that they did a documentary.
Yeah.
And I sure hope it's on PBS and stuff.
Well,
I think-
it's so the documentary that she's talking about is from my good friend Jim Fayes. He also works at VA. He works in the National Cemetery Administration. He is a filmmaker hobby. He makes films by hobby. He's made 3 films. One of them is the Hello Girls. The Hello Girls were World War I. Okay. And hello means they were telephone operators, and they were recruited by, again, Army men to do a job, to translate, okay, be translators on the phone, okay. The difference is they did not get military status. When World War I was over with, it was like, oh, okay, well, go home, see you, okay. There was a long fight to get these women military status, and unfortunately, they all died before that could happen. But the late Corky Roberts was one of the supporters in trying to get them. Jim did a documentary on the Hello Girls. He also did a documentary on the 30th of May. It's about African-American male soldiers. And he's done this one. This is the one that we did November of 2018, where we had all of the 5 living members there. If you get a chance, go to his website. It's called Lincoln Penny Films. It's right here, Lincoln Penny Films. You can download it or go in and purchase it.
One of the things that I was so impressed with the document was the primary sources, primary documents, and some primary video that was taken during the war that incorporated the women in it. I mean, it was just phenomenal. The instruction that can be given in a classroom through primary source documentaries that was used within this particular movie that was put together. Just fantastic.
There's a lot of
And her name's on this.
Yeah.
As one of the producers.
yeah, there's a lot of footage in the archive.
Yeah.
And it's free to the public. You can go in and ask for it.
Thank you so
Great,
much
thank you.
for coming and inspiring us and showing us things we never knew. And hopefully we will. Not hope. Just plain, we will spread that message. I want everybody to please take advantage of our goodies and stick around, look at all the pictures, and I was looking at the books. I'm gonna take a picture and maybe try to get those books myself.
And I have some posters that you can take and you can take one of these postcards. You might know somebody on the postcard. Okay, but don't take none of my books. Those that have the mail, I will tell who has the son that's going. Okay, so you have your son, make sure you're on like. No anybody on active duty, please write them. I know Google, Facebook, Twitter, all that other kind of technology. Yeah, we have all of that, but when you write a letter, you send a card. It makes a difference, okay? So please do. Thank you so much. So downloaded. $20. Yeah. You can, yeah, put in there,